Hey, what is going on, Dolphins fans? Welcome back to the Fins Up Network. It's Ben Morgan, and we are wrapping up Steelers week with our final preview and prediction video of the week. Going to be tackling some viewer questions that were submitted. Going to be giving my final score prediction for Sunday Night Football. But real quick, before we get started, let's hear from you. Drop your final score predictions between the Dolphins and the Steelers in the comments below. Drop those in the comments. Let's fill that section up with a bunch of Miami Dolphins victories. But got a lot of questions I want to get to, so I'm jumping in right away. Question number one: does Brian Flores being a member of the Steelers coaching staff give them an actual advantage? And to that, I would say it can't hurt. He'll know probably some of our defensive strategies and tendencies because, yes, Josh Boyer was part of his coaching staff, and he is literally the holdover on Mike McDaniel at this point in time. But honestly, I'm not quite sure Pittsburgh has the offense to really take a significant advantage of what Flores can bring. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But in regards to Flores and the defense stopping Tua and the offense, Flores, he'll maybe be able to give the defense a few pointers on things that Tua does just as a natural, him playing the position, the eye manipulation, ways maybe to best pressure him, things that you can get into his face that he doesn't like, kind of things like that. But this offense in general, under Mike McDaniel, is so much different than last year's when it was 17 different offensive coordinators putting in play calls. So in regards to actual play calling, diagnosing of plays, I don't think he'll be giving the Steelers that much of an advantage. Let's keep going through here. At what point do the Miami Dolphins bring the hammer down on Jason Sanders? Now, I want to look at the last 3 weeks because the first 3 weeks, Sanders actually only attempted 2 field goals and made them both. So 3 weeks ago, versus Cincinnati, he goes 3 for 4. His miss was a block from 50 plus. He also missed an extra point. Versus the Jets, he goes 1 for 2. Miss also, once again, comes from 50 plus. Last week versus the Vikings, same thing. 1 for 2, miss from 50 plus. So 3 missed field goals, all 50 plus. Now, why I think we feel a little bit worse than what we probably should about that is because 2 years ago, when Jason Sanders set the tone, we grew accustomed to Jason Sanders simply trotting onto the field, and it's like, hey, scoreboard guy, put 3 points up. He was that automatic. He missed 3 kicks all year. He was 36 of 39. That included 8 from 50 plus. So we literally got so ingrained in our heads like this guy is automatic. Now, the alarming thing is that nowadays we see kickers, just these monster legs. They're kicking 50 plus yard field goals. And then that little advanced metric shows up on the screen and it says, would have been good from 61 yards. And now here we are, 3 weeks in a row, struggling from that 50 to 55 range. But my guess is, if I had to make a prediction, they ride this out with Sanders this year. And if things don't improve, we see competition in the offseason. That's what I've got for this. Let's go on to this one. What tendencies do the Steelers have defensively? The first thing we got to do is keep in mind here, Brian Flores is this team's linebacker coach. He's not the outright defensive coordinator, so it is not the same exact defense. Now, will the defensive coordinator talk to him about things that the Dolphins do? Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? But breaking down the Steelers a little bit here, they're in the middle of the pack in the NFL in regards to how much they blitz. They blitz 24.5% of the time. But since TJ Watt has been out, they haven't really had all that much success really getting to the quarterback. They've got 12 sacks on the season. And for comparison's sake, since you're likely a Dolphins fan, the Dolphins have 12 sacks on the season. And we know that they haven't been lighting the world on fire with finishing at the quarterback. Also, the Steelers rank just 27th in quarterback pressures. Now, if you look at the Steelers coming into the season, their defense was supposed to be the calling card. That was going to be the thing that they could rely upon. But much like what we're facing right now, injuries have crushed them, and that production just hasn't been there. And look at last week. They played last week against the Buccaneers without their top 3 cornerbacks and Minkah Fitzpatrick. They got the win very impressively, but that's a lot to overcome. So they've allowed the 4th most yards per game, the 3rd most passing yards per game, and then they're in the middle of the pack versus the run. So those stats alone bode very well for the Miami Dolphins, because if you look at where they rank offensively, They're second in the NFL in passing yards per game. They're in the bottom 5 of running yards per game. So that passing game, obviously, that's how the stats point. Like, what should you do? You should probably pass the ball because this team cannot stop the pass, and that's what we're good at. Now, if you think about what they have been good at, though, they have been fairly opportunistic when it comes to turnovers. They're third in the NFL with 8 interceptions, and they've got 2 fumble recoveries. So 10 total takeaways, which makes them tied for 5th in the NFL in that category of total takeaways. So my biggest takeaway from that is protect the ball, keep the drive alive, and guess what? The stats at the end of the day, you kind of are what you are. The yards will come, the points will come. And like we talked about in the keys to victory, don't settle for field goals. Don't let them hang around. Finish with touchdowns. Let's go on to another question I got right here. What's one thing the Steelers do offensively that should scare us? So offensively, the Steelers are 29th in total yards, 25th in passing yards, 28th in rushing yards per game. You know damn well there's 32 teams in the NFL. So what did I just tell you right there? I told you that they rank near the bottom in every major offensive statistical category. Now, personally, players, I like Najee Harris, but that offensive line isn't letting him get to work. They didn't let him get to work his rookie year, and he's not getting to work this year. He's averaging 3.2 yards per carry. Now look at the quarterback, Kenny Pickett, making one of his first career starts here. 1 passing touchdown, 4 interceptions on the season. Their top 3 wide receivers, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Chase Claypool, they've combined for a single touchdown. Now, that's all doom and gloom. However, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. But even with how depleted we are currently in the secondary as well, I got to say, I am not personally scared of anything really right now that Pittsburgh possesses offensively. And obviously with our defensive backs being nowhere near 100%, the wide receivers I mentioned, they could pop off. Like I said, it's the NFL. Crazy things happen. But think about who we've recently faced. The Bengals, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. The Vikings, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Buffalo a couple weeks before that. Yes, Gabe Davis was out, but Stephon Diggs and McKenzie were available. All things considered, I think we're going to be just fine. Let's do one more question here before I get to my final prediction. I really like this question, so I definitely needed to add it. If you could trade our 2023 first-round pick to improve our team right now, that's the key part, improve it right now, who would you choose? So I am going to cheat a little bit on this answer because exact compensation is always tough. Maybe it includes a first-rounder, maybe it doesn't. So I'm just going to talk about a player in general. I feel confident saying, though, that if Miami were to make a move before the trade deadline, it's got to be at one of their positions of weakness. So offensive line, cornerback, and linebacker. And what have we seen so far in the NFL? Who's making the deals? It's the Carolina Panthers. I don't want to say fire sale mode, but trading away Robbie Anderson to the Cardinals, trading away Christian McCaffrey to the 49ers. Let's just say that discussions are definitely happening with teams in the Carolina Panthers. So I'm going to stick to that trend, and I'm going to go with Taylor Moton. So Moton, in case you're not as familiar with what he does and what he is, he plays right tackle. So that obviously solves one of the Dolphins' biggest issues. Also, if you can get Moton, you plug him in at right tackle. Now think about the flexibility that gives you at left guard where Liam Eichenberg is currently struggling. Because when Austin Jackson gets back, he's played a little left guard before. You can experiment with him. Or if you want to take it to the next level, you move Connor Williams back to left guard. You plug Michael Dieter back in at center. So there's a lot of possibilities right there. I tell you what, a solid right tackle gives this team a lot of flexibility. Moton's 28. His contract expires after the 2025 season. There is an out after the 2023 season. But honestly, at the end of the day, I think offensive line would make the most impact this year, like the question asked. So he's going to get my vote. But let's do this. Let's get into the final prediction for this game. I've got the Miami Dolphins winning this one pretty handily. 31-13. Look, here it is. Our guy, Tua's back. We're going up against a rookie quarterback that's had very limited success, very limited opportunities just in general. And yeah, we're dinged up. We're dinged up in the secondary. We're dinged up on the offensive line. But guess what? We've been that way for weeks now. We've been playing with backups for weeks now, and we have at least stayed in those games. Yeah, we've lost 3 in a row, but we have stayed in those games. And now we get Tua back to pair with the first and fifth leading wide receivers in the NFL. Obviously, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. Against the pass defense that I just said, those passing stats defense that I just said, look, avoid turnovers, avoid penalties, avoid those mental mistakes. And we've got this game. Let's protect Tua. Let's thrive. Let's not just win. Let's thrive in front of a national audience because, damn it, it is time to get back to winning. Dolphins 31, Steelers 13. But like I said, I want to hear your predictions as well. Drop those in the comments. Let's get this win on Sunday. I will be back on some point, likely after the game on Sunday. We're going to have to see how late that puppy goes and how much energy I have for that recap video. So it'll either drop on Sunday night or early Monday morning. So I will be back then, but that is my time for the day, Dolphins fans. Let's get this win back to our winning ways, Dolphins fans. Enjoy that Sunday night football game. And until next time, Fins up.